Hello, and welcome to my video on the event Under Tides, where I'll present the story in a more digestible format. In this event, we'll follow Scotty as she travels to Saltwind City and uncover the secrets that it held. I'll first give an overview of the story, and following that, I'll be going over the lore details and talk about just what exactly this event is trying to tell us. So, without further ado, let's jump in. The story begins with Gladia kidnapping Spectre from Rose Island, leaving Scotty with only the name of a city. Scotty disguises herself as a traveling bard to infiltrate Iberia, and finally arrives at Saltwind City. Here, Scotty befriends a young girl named Anita. She tells Scotty that the situation here used to be much worse due to starvation, but things are getting better thanks to an Iberian bishop, and everyone here follows his teachings. We then learn that Gladia has taken Spectre to this bishop, who's been doing some shady cult things. Meanwhile, in the city, the locals begin some kind of ritual. They each draw a shell from a can, and the one who draws the red shell will head into the ocean, where they will apparently be given a new life. And on the next day, food will magically appear on the shore. Scotty and Anita find an abandoned house to stay in, but an Iberian inquisitor, Eleni, finds them. She has seen the townspeople's strange behavior and believes that Scotty is the one responsible. The Grand Inquisitor also arrives, and in their fight, he wounds Scotty with his hand cannon. Scotty flees and Eleni gives chase. Scotty's blood attracts the sea creatures known as terrorfish. They crawl out of the ocean looking for Scotty, flooding the town in the process. Scotty protects Anita and Eleni from the terrorfish, but this incident causes Scotty to decide to leave. Anita chases after her and helps her come to terms with herself. Meanwhile, the two inquisitors find the terrorfish on the shore, the fate of the man who drew the red shell, and they realize what the town's ritual is about. They sacrifice one of them to the ocean, and the terrorfish gives them food. They prepare to install explosives to blow up the bishop's church, but the shockwave would cause Saltwind to collapse as well. Eleni says she wants to protect the people despite what they have become, and goes to evacuate them. Scotty heads to the church and meets the bishop and Gladia. The bishop tells her that there's someone who wants to meet her, and leads her and Gladia down into an underwater structure. Here, Scotty finds Spectre floating in a tank. She, like the people of Saltwind, has become the bishop's test subjects. So as it turns out, Gladia isn't actually working for the bishop. She brought Spectre here to confirm her condition, and she brought Scotty here to fight the bishop together. But when she attacks the bishop, she is suddenly pierced by tentacles. This is actually a seaborn, an advanced form of terrorfish disguised as the bishop. The real bishop comes out of hiding and tells the seaborn to kill the hunters. But the seaborn was the one who wanted to meet Scotty. It tells her the truth about Abyssal Hunters. They are created by Ager with seaborn blood. In her final battle against the seaborns, Scotty killed their progenitor, and as it died, it spoke to her. The battle severed the connection between the progenitor and the rest of the seaborns, and this seaborn wants to know what it said. Before Scotty answers, Gladia stands back up thanks to her Abyssal Hunter body, and kills the seaborn. Spectre wakes up too, fully conscious despite her oropathy. The bishop, in anger, transforms into a giant seaborn creature, chasing the hunters into the church where it is killed by the combined efforts of the hunters. As they make it out of the church, Calcid appears with Monster, who shoots an energy beam out of his mouth, causing the church to collapse. Calcid defends the hunters in front of the Grand Inquisitor and goes with him to the Iberian courts. Later, Scotty finds Anita and Eleni, who has successfully evacuated the locals. Eleni apologizes to Scotty for what she did before, and Scotty promises Anita that she'll come back. The hunters return to Rose Island, and all is well. But not all is well. On Rose Island, Gladia feels the influence of the seaborns. She knows she's running out of time, and she must find the last ship of Iberia's fleet in order for the hunters to have a chance at fighting back. And that concludes the story of Under Tides. Due to the nature of a summary, things like Scotty and Eleni's character development, the interaction between the Inquisitors, and the personalities of the other characters would have to be omitted for brevity's sake, even though they're just as important to the story. I highly recommend you to read the story when it releases on Global, since a summary alone just wouldn't be enough to do it justice. Let's move on then to talk about the meat of this event, the Abyssal Hunters and the Seaborns. You can think of the Seaborns and Terrorfish as a kind of hive mind, with the ability to telepathically communicate between individuals. Their society is one where everything is shared and everyone is equal, but this also means that they have no sense of individuality. Everything they do is to advance their species and to continuously expand their population. Even when they die, they turn into masses of muscle while maintaining their respiratory functions, so they can be eaten by other Seaborns. They don't possess emotions, morals, and run mostly on instinct. The Seaborn who was working with the bishop, for example, doesn't understand how promises, lies, or rejection work. What the Saltwind bishop was teaching the people, essentially, was the Seaborn's ideology. Everyone are brothers and sisters. Share what you have with the people around you. Strengthen yourself to benefit your race. All part of his experiment to turn people more Seaborn-like. The organization he is a part of, the Abyssal Church, worships the Seaborns, and they have been trying to extend their influence through Iberia. Additionally, as we have seen, Seaborns are also able to adapt and evolve quickly. This particular Seaborn evolved the ability to speak since it wanted to talk to Skadi, and the Terrorfish were able to walk on land to look for Skadi. This is also why the Abyssal Hunters have been using cold weapons against the Seaborns, since Aegir didn't want them to adapt to more advanced forms of weaponry. As for the Hunters, everything the Seaborn said is true. Remember when Kalsis said in Granny's event that Abyssal Hunters are bounded by blood? Well, it was more literal than we thought, considering that their blood comes from a race of hive mind telepath. We also find out why Kalsis said Skadi wouldn't dare to bleed on land. Aegir created them with Seaborn blood, making them into their vanguards against the Seaborns. The Terrorfish recognizes the scent of their blood as their kin, but they don't recognize the Abyssal Hunters, so they attack the Hunters, thinking that their kin is inside them. Due to the blood, Abyssal Hunters are at risk of being turned into Seaborns, which is why Aegir has kept a close eye on them. It was also Aegirians, implied to be the Abyssal Church, who destroyed Skadi's home, leading her to falsely believe that the Seaborns did it, and pointing her anger at the so-called Aegir's enemy. Aegir's underwater cities are much more advanced than the cities on land, but as advanced as Aegir is, it can't defend itself against the ever-increasing population of the Seaborns. Many Aegir cities fell, and these Aegirians fled onto land, giving Iberia Aegir's knowledge and technology. During their war with the Seaborns, Aegir caused the Great Silence, turning many of Iberia's coastal cities into ruins like Saltwind as collateral damage. In the end, no one really understood the Seaborns. Aegir antagonized them, the Saltwind bishop deified them, but all the Seaborn wants to do is survive. On the other hand, the Abyssal Hunters have to live with the knowledge that they're part Seaborn, and can turn into one if they're not careful. But, like Gladia said, they're not the same as they have emotions and the Seaborns don't. They're family, and family means nobody gets left behind. You might have noticed that I haven't mentioned Skadi the Corrupting Heart so far, and that's because she's not actually in the event. This version of Skadi is essentially what will happen to the original Skadi if she becomes one with the Seaborn. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like it will happen anytime soon, or at all for that matter, and Skadi Alter remains non-canon. I'll end off then with the last words of the Seaborn progenitor. The suffering we endure is eternal. As for what that might mean, I'll leave it as food for thought.